Hello, my name is Mia Zamorano. If you don't know me already, I am a mental health therapist and a performance consultant. I work with highly competitive and driven athletes, business professionals, and really anyone in between who's just wanting to improve their performance. I use my evidence based strategies to really help you out with that. So, welcome to my space where I give you tips, insights, tools, and sometimes a little bit of vent session for me too when I'm noticing something. So, my topic today is why you never want to play scared. Now, I don't care what you're playing in, if it's, if you are an athlete, if you're a business professional, a business owner, if you are just taking a new chance or wanting to create a huge change in your life, you never want to play scared. Now, I'm going to give you a little backstory here of what motivated this. Uh, I'm a huge Steelers fan, Pittsburgh Steelers football. I was watching last night the Steelers play the Miami Dolphins. Now, it did not go well for them ultimately, but throughout the time, so if you guys aren't familiar with Tua, which is the Miami Dolphins quarterback, he's had some injuries lately. It's created a lot of conversation about concussion protocol and everything else, which obviously the safety of the players is extremely important. But something that kind of actually surprised me, because if you're a commentator, you've been in this world for a bit and you know what you're talking about, is the assumption. Um, they were talking about Tua in the context of, like they were cringing, and it can't help but make me worry when I'm seeing him do these things. And I can't believe he's out here playing like himself. And I literally, as a performance consultant and as a former athlete, I literally was just like, why is this surprising? Could you imagine if he went back into the game and was playing scared? He would have such a higher risk of getting hurt. You're not, when you're operating out of fear, right? And again, I know we're talking about specifically this game, but when you're operating out of fear, especially in the moment, you're not thinking as clearly, right? Physiologically, when it's fear based, especially where it's heightened fear, like almost that fight or flight, your prefrontal cortex, so the front part of your brain that's in charge of logic and reasoning, literally shuts down. It says, thinking this through isn't important. I need to get out of the situation. So if you're operating out of that place, you are not going to be thinking as clearly. You're not going to be able to focus, and it's going to impact basically every aspect of your functioning. The best thing that you can do, again, whether you're an athlete or a business professional, like, you can let fear inform you before the fact, right? So what does that look like? In my preparation, I want to be well informed going into a situation. I want to be well prepared. So for him, it's like, how do I fall correctly? I'm not speaking for him specifically, but as an athlete, it might be, how am I training to have my muscles be as prepared and matured as possible so I can be successful to prevent injury? Or how do I make sure I know my plays so that I'm not screwing up? Or as a business professional, how am I making sure I understand the area of need, or I'm appealing to my audience in a certain way, right? Entrepreneur, whatever it is. So, like, you can have that fear of failure, if you will, kind of help inform you, but you don't want it to run the show because it's going to do you a huge disservice. Does that make sense? So there's a difference between letting it inform you initially and then operating out of it. You don't want to operate out of fear. You do not want to play scared no matter what you're doing. Now, a little story about myself. My senior year, the end of my senior year of high school, I absolutely shattered my knee. I was a soccer player, and it wasn't even like a prestigious game. I feel like that's always how it happens. It was like a fun tournament I was playing in, and it was towards the end of the game, and I stole the ball and I got slide tackled from behind, and my knee just, I didn't know it at the time. I actually got up and walked off the field. I knew something didn't feel right. Long story short, after the MRIs, you couldn't even see my ACL. It wasn't even in there. ACL completely torn, MCL torn, meniscus torn. The trifecta, we call it. And I just decided that I wasn't going to let that be my end. I had already committed to play Division 1 soccer, and there was just no way I was going to let this hold me back from my dream, because at that time that really was my dream. So I went hard to work, got cleared in 5.5 months when they initially told me 9 to 12 months because of the procedure I used, patella tendon. Anyone else? Um, and I remember coming out of that when I was getting cleared and they were sizing me for my brace and we were having all these conversations, and it was a big brace. Now keep in mind, this is over a decade ago, so it might be a little bit different now, but at the time, and he was a fantastic doctor. I still admire him. He I'm asking him questions about the brace and making sure it fits correctly. And so it prevents me from tearing it again. And he stopped me and he looked at me and he said, I have to tell you something. He said, if you're going to tear your ACL again, you're going to tear it again. This helps, but it's more for your mentality. And that stuck with me forever as someone who is a psych major or was about to be a psych major at that time, but someone who knew they wanted to be in that field. And him saying that, ultimately, if this is going to happen again, it's going to happen. But you being overly cautious or like this brace alone isn't going to help you. It was just like a moment. And I think that, again, while we're talking specifically about athletics, that is life. There is nothing that's going to guarantee you your safety. There is nothing that's going to promise you the outcome you want. But what's really not going to help you get there is playing scared. So this is your reminder that, like, again, I'm not saying be reckless, be informed. If you have a fear or worry about something, how can you cope ahead for that? How can you prepare? What action steps can you take to be informed, right? But don't let that keep you from showing up. And when you do show up, that's not when you want fear to run the show. At that point, you are well prepared. You have established a new narrative and you are going for it. So whether you're a quarterback in the NFL or an entrepreneur or someone that's wanting to pursue a college sport or move across the country or whatever it is, start a new relationship, I'm telling you, this is time to give yourself permission to not play scared. Subscribe and like if you want to hear more. Thank you guys for taking the time to listen, and I'll talk to you soon.